All right, guys. So I just ran across this conversation with Mr. Marc Lamont Hill. Okay, more of him. Okay, because he's just giving me stuff to talk about. And Dr. Aruna Khilanani, I think that's how you pronounce her name. And if you guys are not familiar with her, that is the Yale School of Medicine psychiatrist that said that basically she fantasizes about killing white people. Okay, she said some very disgusting things that I don't approve of whatsoever. Right? He's having a conversation with her about this, and you know, these are two academics talking. Okay, so this is a conversation that I feel like I've been exposed to in college, and I wanted to give my take on it because the stuff that this woman says, in my opinion, I think these academics really are leading America to a dark place with some of the stuff that they come up with. So let's listen to this conversation that they're having here. Take a look.
Welcome back to Black News Tonight. I'm still here with Dr. Aruna Khilanani as we talk exclusively about her content of her virtual talk, The Psychopathic Problem of the White Mind. Before we talk about the kind of consequences there of your speech, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the things that you said in the speech that I thought were interesting and compelling. You said, this is the cost of talking to white people. The cost of your own life as they suck you dry. There are no good apples out there. White people make my blood boil. When you say there are no good apples out there, what kind of claim are you making?
I'm talking about people have this idea that racism is something that if you're consciously racist or if you're a Klan member, and I'm sort of making the claim that racism is something that is unconscious and it is actually in everyone, and everyone uses these words systemic. They're like, you know, I know that racism is systemic, and yet individually, when you call them out, they'll be like, well, it's not me. You can't say that. And so there's a disconnect between use of the word systemic and saying that racism is everywhere. But the moment you point it out individually, there's sort of people disown their own violence and racism.
Would it be fair to say, based on your expertise, that white people are psychopathic?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's many lies that, and didn't get to that part because what I delivered was only part of a first series of talks. But the level of lying that white people do that has started since colonialism, we're just used to it. Such as every time that you steal a country, you loot, you say you've discovered something. I mean, this level of lie is actually part of history. We don't say that we killed all these people, we got rid of all the Native Americans. We say we discovered America. You don't talk about the level of death. You don't talk about the level of what actually occurred. You wipe the slate clean, you sanitize the violence, and you actually got lost along the way. You're trying to go to India, and then you say you discovered something. And this level of discovery is everywhere. You've discovered vegetarianism. You know, you've discovered yoga. You've discovered everything is a discovery, and it's all actually stolen.
All right, guys. So I think probably the most disturbing part about that conversation is that Marc Lamont Hill says that he finds the things that she says interesting and compelling, which means that he probably agrees with her, right, on these things. Okay, and he gave no pushback to any of the things that she was saying at all, when if this was somebody that was against critical race theory like Christopher Rufo, he would have all these gotcha questions, right? He would challenge them on their rhetoric. But he gives no pushback to her whatsoever throughout this interview. And you guys, you know, if you want to sit through a whole 14 minutes of it, hey, you know, knock yourself out. I had to do that for you guys, so you didn't have to do it. But he doesn't really give any pushback because he probably agrees. Now, he asked her about her quote and her thoughts that there are no good apples, that all white people are bad apples, right? And she says that to extrapolate, well, that's why I said that there are no good apples, okay? When you talk about systemic racism, and then you want to point out people's individual racism, people just be like, oh, no, well, I'm not racist. There's systemic racism, but I'm not racist. And, you know, hey, I think that's a fair criticism of the white liberal, right? Because that's who she's criticizing. She's criticizing the white liberal because they will acknowledge systemic racism, but they will say, oh, no, I'm not racist. Now, you got some woke revolutionaries that will be like, oh, yes, I'm unconsciously racist, right? I've actually had people that I know in college that were white who take these classes with professors like her, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm unconsciously racist," right? They will straight up say that. Okay, but when she says that everyone is racist, she's also talking about herself. She's talking about everybody in society, and what that really reveals, guys, is their real beef, right? The real beef is not with racism. Okay, that's not the beef. Their real beef is that white people are the majority. That's the beef. Because the racism of other people is okay. They don't want to have conversations about that. But the focus is on white people because they are the majority. Okay? And she expands on this. We asked about, if all white people are psychopaths, basically. And she basically says yes. Again, blows my mind that he doesn't really push back on this because he probably agrees with it. But she talks about how white people tell history. And she talks about colonialism and, how, white people say they discovered America. She's talking about Christopher Columbus. But they leave out the bloodshed, which, again, I don't know what she means by that because, again, even in most history books, even in history class, people learn about the battles that happened during early America between the native tribes and the colonists. People learn about that, right? But what actually killed most of the Native Americans was disease. It wasn't the white man coming over here and, killing all of them. And I'm not saying that they didn't go to war. I'm not saying there wasn't bloodshed. I'm not saying there wasn't battles. Obviously they were. But what killed off most of them, a vast majority of them, was disease, right? Something that really couldn't be helped. Okay? Any type of contact with outsiders, whether they was white or, any other race, probably would have led to that same outcome. The reason why is because Native Americans were isolated. So they weren't exposed to a lot of these other diseases, which made them vulnerable, right? And that's what killed off most of them. That's just what it is. But, they conveniently leave that part out of it because the mission is to demonize white people. The mission is not to tell the whole truth, right? And again, like I said, these type of interviews, these academics, to me, these type of conversations, they really are leading America to a dark, dark, dark place. I think her saying things like white people are psychopathic, that they're no good, that they're all bad apples, this type of stuff, these are not conversations that you can just have out with the public, right? Because a lot of people are going to overlook a lot of things they're saying. I'm not excusing anything they're saying. What they're saying, I don't agree with. Okay, I don't really agree with. And part of the reason why I don't agree with it is because I don't believe that everybody is a bad apple. I don't believe that everybody is racist. Do I think that some people have some prejudices? Sure. I mean, listen, when it comes to dating people, we like what we like. Okay? You like what you like. Okay? Some people just can't help it. That's just what you're attracted to. It is what it is. So I'm not saying that doesn't exist. But to say that this racism, to try to play this thing up as the worst thing in the world, I think it's ridiculous because there are a lot of good white people out there, right? Just like there are a lot of good black people out there, and there's a lot of good people who intermix with each other and never have any problem between races. Okay? And guys, I'm gonna tell a personal story. When I was 18, 19, again, I told you guys this before, I used to work in a grocery store. And I used to be real good friends with my manager at a grocery store. Okay? He was assistant manager. We used to kick it all the time. We used to talk about business ideas, right? Talk about crazy stuff, right? And one day we both came up with this idea of having this app in which you can find items across the store, right? Like a product finder where people can get on the app and say, hey, I want to find the French fried onions. Okay, you put it in the app, you search it, and then it tells you what aisle is on. Because people always used to ask us, what aisle is the milk on or the bread on or whatever, right? And we thought that was the greatest idea ever. Now, this guy is an older white guy. He's in like his, late 40s or something like that, early 50s. I'm a young 18, 19-year-old young black male, right? Now, I'm entering my first year of college. He decides that, hey, he wants to pursue this idea. So this man spends $40,000 of his own money to partner with me to create this app, right? And we were going to try to sell this app to grocery stores. That's what the plan was. And he spent that money. We went and developed this app. I also went and pitched this app to the executives, again, all white folks, right? Multiple times, white people, to different grocery chains, right? We went on this little venture to try to make this idea work. Now, ultimately, it didn't end up working out because grocery stores, they don't want people to be able to find stuff in the store because they want people to stick around longer so they can see the deals. It was an idea that was good for the employees, right? That was convenient for them, but it wasn't convenient for the actual business, right? So ultimately, it didn't work out. But my point is that this white man that was much older than me spent a ton of his own money to help me as a black person, a young black person, to help maybe try to start a startup or a business. And that was an opportunity that was given to me that I gained a lot of experience from, being able to do something like that at a young age because of a white person, right? But yeah, you have people go out there and try to act like that, oh, all white people are racist and they're all bad people and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, a lot of the opportunities that I've got in life has been given to me by white people. If this racism is so bad, then how is this happening? Again, I feel like I'm not the only person that happens to. I'm not the only person that happens to. It happens to a lot of people. If white people are so bad, how is it that you have anybody in America that's successful in black? How is it that you have all white people who give black people opportunities? Most of the opportunities I've had in life have been given to me by white people. But that's not to say I haven't experienced some negative things from white people, right? That's not to say I haven't experienced some racism, but I'm not obsessed with it. I don't let one negative experience try to cloud my judgment over all the positive experiences that I've had. I don't let that happen. And I think when you have that type of mindset, when you don't worry about this so-called unconscious racism, then it makes it so it doesn't even matter when it comes to outcomes, individual outcomes, at least put it that way. It doesn't matter. And this is why I had these conversations, because, you know, people that obsess over this stuff, it holds you back, right? It makes it harder for you to succeed. It really does. Because you've subconsciously held yourself back. When there are plenty of white people out here that are good people, that don't have a racist bone in their body, great upstanding Americans, just like there's good black people, good Asian, good everybody. But again, when you listen to these college professors say stuff like this, these academics, these are the people that are really, really, really leading America to a dark place. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.